What's up, y'all? Welcome back to No Table Talk. It's your boy, Otnba. Let's get into it. So today I'm going to be talking on value. I'm not going to be really basing it off the definitions of value or stuff like that, but I'm only just going to be exploring some conversations we've had behind the scenes. When I say behind the scenes, I mean in our writer's room. Yes, we have a writer's room. Subtle flex. But really just exploring some conversations we had behind the scenes about adding value to life. I'm just going to talk about highlighting certain characteristics that makes things valuable and how value kind of differentiates from worth. When you're looking at the definition of value, two words stand out, which I think encapsulate what value is, being significance and importance. For something to be valuable, they have to be of significance and they have to be importance. And in looking at value in contrast to the definition of a close synonym being worth, one could see how because something is worth a lot doesn't mean they are valuable. Because something is, let's use money for instance, because something is worth a lot of money doesn't mean that in a particular situation or in a particular context or in the hands of particular individuals, that thing is valuable. You get what I'm saying? I say that because it then highlights how value is more what you bring to the table as opposed to who you are. In our discussions, it really hits close to home when we realize how your survival could be directly linked to how valuable you are. I may not really be talking about it more on the sense of mortality, but it still applies, especially when one starts to gravitate towards spirituality, you get. But it still applies. But long and short of it, it's important that we are adding value. Because if you're not adding value, you then become obsolete. You then don't survive. You get what I'm saying? But today I'm going to be exploring two spheres of life. These are two very, very pivotal foundational spheres of one's life. We found that your spiritual life and your social life are two very, very core spheres. Let's look at your spiritual life, for instance. Now, you may be asking yourself, how can I add value to my spiritual life? Especially when your spiritual life could be described as you having a relationship with a higher power. In my case, being God. This higher power clearly has more authority, clearly has more capability in every sense of the word. In whatever context you base this hierarchy of, they are above you. But we realize that even your obedience is value in itself. You see, it's one thing for me to have authority over you. It's one thing for me to be able to create a pathway for you or give you a template on how your life should run, give you instructions that you should follow. And because of free will being in existence, you have the choice to do these things if you want to. I could hold a certain level of lordship over your life, but if you don't subject to that lordship, then that lordship is really just futile in your case. You get what I'm saying? The fact that I can tell you to do something and you do it means that you have value. Because at the end of the day, you have to have value to be used. You get your usefulness is linked to how valuable you are to me. And if I can tell you what to do, if I can have certain expectations of you and you follow through on those expectations, then you're valuable to me. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but we let that sit into our hearts for a minute. Looking at how your willingness to even operate under my laws, your willingness to even operate under my precepts shows how valuable you are. And then the opposite could then be you diminishing your value. And that could be a scary thought because remember what I talked about survival being linked to value? When one thinks of aspects when they've been disobedient, it could be humbling. Let's look at the other sphere of life, the social life. People come into our minds and are like, oh, I wonder how this person is doing. I wonder what they're doing right now. I haven't spoken to this person for a while. And you go the extra mile by picking up the phone and checking up on them. That's value. That's value. Or I'm able to bring a problem to you and I can seek sound counsel from you. I can table a matter before you, certain concerns I have. And from the conversation we have, I feel comforted. That's value in itself. At the end of the day, adding value in your social life is really going the extra mile. It's very important for me to really highlight how important it is for us to ascertain not just what value we're bringing to the table of the different relationships in our lives, but what value we're getting. Because it helps us see our relationships for what they really are. Because some relationships, we could be investing so much. And when one really does the math, takes account, you can see how these relationships really are invaluable to us. Meanwhile, there are some relationships that we really don't see as highly valuable. But when one calculates the cost, when one does the math, they could see how those relationships are really, really valuable for us, and how those are relationships that we sometimes need to prioritize. There are certain things we'll be getting from relationships that you could take very, very lightly. And you see it a lot when it's one-to-one. You feel me? When it's one individual to another individual. You see it a lot where you go into this relationship with certain expectations, especially when you know the value you bring to the table. Sometimes you expect that value to be reciprocated, when in actuality, they may be bringing something else to the table that you have taken for granted, or you could have totally not even recognized because of the expectation that you had, because of the value that you had, that you want them to bring to the table. Meanwhile, that's not the value that relationship gives you. You feel me? And in you neglecting what value you actually get, you underappreciate it, and you don't get the meat of what that value is supposed to give to you. Meanwhile, that thing you're looking for in this individual could be present in another relationship with another individual. You feel me? If anything, thinking along these lines helps you expediently operate in your relationships. Put your relationships in the categories they ought to be in, so that you can operate effectively, so that you can avoid stress. Let's try to be valuable. Let's be significant. Let's be important. If you are gone, what would they miss? If you step out of this sphere, what would be missing? What would be lost? You feel me? Think about it that way. Think about it that way. Remember, I said that this differs from worth. It's not about who you are. You get what I'm saying? It's not about how much you're worth. It's not about what you have. It's about what you bring to the table. You could have all these things, but if in this particular situation, if in this particular context, if to me, you're not significant, you're not important, it doesn't matter if you're a Mona Lisa. If the Mona Lisa isn't bringing anything of significance or importance to me, as opposed to just hanging on my wall and gathering dust, it has no value to me. It's better off in the hands of somebody else. It's better off in the hands of probably somebody else that appreciates art more. Or maybe if I then realize that this Mona Lisa will be more valuable to me if I sell it. Now we're talking. Now I've prioritized that relationship for what it is. But let's be valuable, man. Let's be valuable. And let's count cost of what value other things and other people bring into our life. Is it significant and is it important? Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to another episode. See you next time. Take it easy. Peace.
Sit back, relax, and chill. Grab a glass of wine or a cup of tea, 'cause you're listening to No Table Talk.